Just trying to cool down a little. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Good afternoon. My name is Faris Alzahrani. I come from National Water Company, where I work as a health and safety and security manager in Mecca region. Now, before I get along with the topic, I would like to take this moment just to thank everybody in charge of the conference for granting me this opportunity, and to thank you, audience, for being here and sitting in front of me, listening to me speaking, and to the others. So thank you all. Clearly, I'll be speaking about residential sprinklers. So what I'll try to do today, I'll try to cover two things. I did a master's degree in fire safety engineering at Ulster University in UK. My thesis was about residential sprinklers and Saudi contexts. And then later on, I wrote, I'm not going to say engineering statement, but I wrote a public input. If you are familiar with the code, how the codes are made, usually when they make the code, they open it to the public to see the inputs. So I made a public input trying to oppose the sprinklers exemption in Saudi residential code. So my thesis title was, it's long to be honest. It was investigation of the potential impacts and challenges associated with residential sprinklers in private Saudi housing. So what I mean by private Saudi housing is the house I own and you own. And then later, that was in April 2020, I spent 4 months doing the thesis, assuming that sprinklers are going to be mandated in Saudi Arabia. Because I knew that the Saudi National Code Committee decided to adopt the International Residential Code. Now, IRC as a model code has mandated sprinklers already since 2006. So I thought maybe they're gonna adopt the same and enforce it in the kingdom. So just one step ahead before they start enforcement. That enforcement will come with challenges. So I thought maybe studying that and try to do, detailed research, help the government, maybe some local authorities to easily enforce sprinklers. Now, in October 2020, they released the local residential Saudi code, and they decided to exempt sprinklers. Well, I didn't see that coming, but anyhow. So why I chose residential sprinklers, why I chose to investigate residential fires. Residential fires are unique hazards. I'm not sure if you're familiar, but during my thesis, I did a lot of literature review. Most of the communities in the globe, the first enemy to the communities was fires, and precisely residential fires. And now, why they're different from the other fires? Well, there is not sure if you guys can see this, but nobody comprehensively understand why residential fires are different. Maybe one of the reasons I concluded is that people have this feeling where they feel they're secured at their homes. The survey I did, most of the surveys I have read, usually 60 to 70% of those respondents say they feel the most secure at their home because they're home. But that feeling, being secure at home, is not combined by actions. What I mean by that, like people, they feel secure at home, but they're not taking action against thieves. They're not taking action against fire risk, for example. And the second reason is the human behavior is something we cannot predict. Now, when I did my master's degree, Mohammed is my colleague, he did a master's degree with me, our instructor kept saying that there's no way we understand human behavior and residential fires. And the reason to that, because usually people die. And if people died, you can't extract information, right? And the problem with fires or behavior of human is that fire risk at home go unnoticed, go ignored, go neglected until it's too late. And when it's too late is usually when people are sleeping. So the reasons behind that, there's endless number of reasons. One of the reasons is usually we don't have supervision. So you don't have management. Nobody instructs you to do certain things or to take certain action. It is your home. Usually you're the boss. And then if you look to the second and fourth, knowledge and ignorance, if I combine that, I would say lack of awareness. Now, when I did the survey, I had almost 500 people participated, and most of them are among the public. And 64%, if I'm not mistaken, said that they have developed a very good awareness of fire safety. But when you ask about what actions they have taken out of that awareness and knowledge, almost zero. Like 64% said, we can evacuate building in case of fire. Then if you ask, did you do drills? The answer is no. 64% said, we can control fires. Then he asked, do you have extinguishers? Do you have sprinklers, smoke alarms, whatever? The answer is almost no. So, and the scientist says that awareness is two components, knowledge, and then you got to take action. If you're not taking action, then there is no point of having the knowledge, right? And preparedness, among the thesis, what I did is that I did a couple of interviews. So one of these I interviewed was a committee member, a Saudi Fire Code, and he said one of the reasons why we think about mandating sprinklers in general residential occupancies is that preparedness. Preparedness is, and I quote, he said that is something we can't control, neither we can rely on. So, because there's a third party, right? There's a people. However, we have some global initiatives toward minimizing or controlling residential fire trends. Public awareness, UK has done a very extensive public awareness program for the last 15 years. That has resulted in a decline in the fire trend. It's not a big decline, it's 5% only, but if you take that 5% and you multiply it by the ratio, the population of the UK, it's huge. Enforcement of smoke alarms, now luckily in the kingdom, we have the residential building code. It's requiring to have smoke alarms at homes. There's a long list of criteria for the design of smoke alarms. Sprinklers, now most of the model codes are requiring sprinklers. International Residential Code, till 2006, it was optional to have sprinklers. Now it's mandatory to have sprinklers. I think in USA there are 3 states which are mandating sprinklers in dwellings. An overview of the statistics, if you look to these numbers, they are almost range around 68. So we have Saudi, Russia, that is not UK complete, Scotland 74%, 69. Now this percentage is exactly representing the number of people that have died in residential fires. Now, if you look to Russia, they have 7,000 people died in 2018 structural fire. 63% of those are dying at dwellings or home. And then you have 74% in Scotland. Scotland have done a survey from 2018, 2005, 2008. They have summarized that 171 people died in structural fires. I think 74% of those were in dwelling fires. So we will go into that in a moment. 69% USA have the highest record of structural fire, 354,500 fires in residential occupancies. 69% of those were in dwelling units, and then 85% of those died. When you look to the fire trend, were dwelling. So that is serious. KSA is no different. We're part of this world. We have almost 66% of the total fire deaths from 2015 to 2019 were only at dwellings, which is a huge number or huge percentage. That is equal to 467 death cases, dwelling death cases. Now, a light approach to life safety or balanced approach to life safety. The reason I brought this slide here, because, while reading the SPC 1101, which is the Residential Building Code, I would say there was a conflict, to be honest. There was inconsistency in the code structure itself. So this basically, the balanced approach has 3 components. Detection, I think you should go there. We have detection. And then we have, we have detection, protection, suppression. The concept is that this concept emphasizes that these three components have to work together, parallel or series, but they got to work together. Now, if you want to take one of these elements or sub-elements out of the equation, you have to put an alternative, as simple as that, okay? That is the way I see the concept. So what the committee has decided is that they exempted the sprinklers from dwellings, and their justification, or where they're exempted, they're saying dwellings made of concrete and masonry bricks are exempted. Now, if you look at the construction materials in Saudi Arabia, the 99.99 are concrete and masonry walls or masonry bricks. So there's no point of that justification, right? Now, if you take sprinklers out of the equation, which is a part of protection, you got to put some alternative in place. Now, there is no alternative to sprinklers. I believe everybody agrees here. But the point is that you've taken one element now, you got to make the other element more stringent, right? But the committee did not do anything about the other elements. So some of the issues I found is that there is no regulation of decorative materials. So when I asked some experts of those in charge of residential building code, they said, we can't control that because it is people, houses. We can't control the decorative. While in UK now, we have standard that regulates furniture, for example, to lower the combustibility and fire behavior, etc. So none of that has happened here in the kingdom. And the other issue was, there are so many issues, but I'll try to mention a few. The other issue was with the building layout. Now, we have a requirement for the emergency rescue opening, right? And it says that it has to open to the public or to the yard, and there is a specification for the yard. That yard has to be not less than 3 meters. Now, I'm not sure if you're familiar with the structure of how homes are built here. Usually you have a dwelling next to dwelling. There is a separation, but that separation, first of all, it will not facilitate that firefighting basket to go in between. And plus, usually we have multiple dwellings in one building. Those in basement have exterior doors, and these doors, or ground floor, the next doors to the dwelling or the building are controlled by the ground floor dwellers. So in case of emergency, firefighters cannot access those dwellers in the first floor, second floor, third floor, which is creating big problem or will delay. Eventually they will break the door, but it will delay the response. Now that was not factored in. So I would say simply what they've done is they preach the concept. They claim, I would say, to achieve a life safety, but they've preached this concept. Now, that 4 months of work, the objective of the thesis was, there are 5 objectives, is to look to analyze the global trends and compare it to the local and see the differences, similarities, and then review what actions the government are taking, or I would say the local authority are taking to ease the enforcement of residential building code. There is so much requirement in residential building code that we haven't applied before. So usually that will be faced by some resistance, right? So what actions, that was part of the thesis, then state all the costs and benefits associated with residential sprinklers, and plus exploring the public perception. This is the main stakeholder in the game. So I wanted to take them on board and hear them out and see what they have, or what they know about these systems, or the challenges they expect to be in the future, and if they have recommendations to overcome these challenges. In terms of cost-benefit analysis, I use a methodology called J methodology, or J-value methodology, which is developed by a UK scientist. So the concept of this judgment value methodology is there's a factor that is the most important factor. They call it social willingness to invest in safety. So how much people, or how much, the public or the population is willing to invest in safety, in their safety. Now for that, there are 6 different parameters you have to calculate, but the problem I face, I would say even the shortcoming in the thesis, and the scarcity of information and data we have here locally, that was a big problem. So I tried to make some adjustments, some recommendations to hire that equation here locally. In summary, in terms of cost-benefit analysis, sprinklers are not cost-effective, but again, there are so many things that we can I would recommend to reinvestigate. And I would say even sprinkler could be cost effective here in the kingdom. Now, in terms of main findings, I would say the majority of those people died in the kingdom, 81% are children, usually below the age of 12, and they die after 11:30 p.m., so simply while sleeping. We have sprinklers. Yes, we have some projects here in the kingdom where sprinklers are installed at dwellings. Mainly those projects done by Aramco. They have several compounds, and their compounds are equipped by sprinklers. And they're not expensive, by the way. So I have contacted somebody in Aramco who's in charge of this project, and the cost per dwelling was 20,000 Saudi riyal, which is not a big deal. Compared to the one I did, when I calculated, there was a big variation in the quotations I received. So I consulted 4 big companies here locally in the kingdom. The lowest was 40, the highest was 74,000. So it's typical villa, 452 square meter. But see the difference in pricing, 40 to 74. That is, questionable. In terms of awareness, yes, 64 of those participated, they have shown a very good knowledge of fire safety. I was surprised by that, but unfortunately, those 64, if you dive analyzing them, they haven't taken any action based on the knowledge they have, okay? They don't have systems, they don't have even fire extinguishers at home. Some of the myths the public developed, for example, when the sprinkler goes off in a guest room, all sprinklers in home will go off. Now, thanks to the movie, that is not true. Newer homes, they're saying, are safer, but the researchers, what UL has done, proved the otherwise. Today's furniture, today's home burn 8-9 times faster than those we had in 1970s. Smoke alarms enough? Well, it's enough to some certain extent, but if you know the chain of survival at home, is that detect fire, report, then evacuate or fight if you can. But the problem is that if you look to the statistics, says that 81% are kids and they die after 11:30 p.m. while sleeping. Now, if you go back to the chain of survival, is that you have detection, reporting, then fleet or fight, right? But if you cannot hear the detection system because you're sleeping or for some other reasons, then there's no point of the chain of survival. But if you put sprinklers, even if you're sleeping, 98%, the research says, 98% that sprinklers is going to control the fire, and 95% is going to take it off, which is very good. These are the recommendations of the public. So they recommended these actions to be taken by authorities, companies, whatever, just to ease the enforcement of sprinklers. The first one says we got to promote home life safety systems. So simply, if you look to the USA and Canada, even in some part of Europe, what they do sometimes is they bring 2 compartments, they burn it, one with a sprinkler, one without sprinkler, then they use social media and advertise it to everybody, right? That type of awareness we should do. Establishment of quality insurance program, that is linked with the last one, customer right preservation. During the survey, most of those respondents say that they doubt the competency of the contractors, plus they felt the contractors, they were a bit high. Okay, and that is true. Now, if you look to Aramco with the stringent requirement they have and this quality program, everything, is tight and accurate, yet they get sprinkler by doing at 20,000. While when I did my study, although I contacted big qualified companies, I don't want to say the names, but the quotation I received at least 2 times the value, 2 to 3 times the value Aramco had. Then thorough training. Again, this is for the contractor to make sure they're competent of what they're doing. I spent almost 3 weeks trying to find somebody who's competent in a B13D, for example. If in a B13D, designing sprinklers dwelling, they have 2 main objectives. One is to preserve life safety of dwellers. The second, to make the installation cost effective. Now, I spent 3 weeks trying to find somebody who's very competent, but 3 weeks is too much time. I'd not call you Mark, sorry, huh? So I'll call you next time. And one of the recommendations was incentivizing programs. Simply, if I put sprinklers, what I'm going to get to reward. So there was a recommendation like, maybe if I put sprinklers, I'll have lower tax rate. Maybe if I put sprinkler and I'm applying to loan program, home loan program, I'll get, I would say, lower interest rate. That was recommended by the public. And then promotion from fire sprinklers ITM program, the quotation I received for only maintaining dwelling systems was at least 5,000 per year, which is too much, to be honest. So we could promote dwellers doing the inspection testing of their systems. And I think I'm done. Thank you for listening.